I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and today we're taking a little left turn. You know, I've had chefs from restaurants on who have released books as well. And then for the 100th episode, we had Carolina Molia on to chat all about her fabulous bistro, Le Artisan in Miami. Go order those croissants right now if you haven't already. And today I've got I've got Chef Chris Anderson from Clover Food Lab in the Boston area with us. I get nostalgic for my vegan roadie days, everybody. Let me tell you, I love talking to chefs and restaurant owners and learning what has resonated with their customers and what hasn't and what's been great on their menu and learning about the pitfalls and the successes of all of them. Also to just celebrate the vegan options that are available in our world today. And I actually remember Clover from the vegan roadie days. We didn't get to film with them in Boston. It was a quick shoot for that episode, and scheduling didn't work out with Clover. I mean, in general, that Boston episode, if you go back and watch it of the vegan roadie, it's sort of like the lost episode for me. We had a lot of trouble scheduling with anybody in Boston, and then we ended up we got a parking ticket. We almost got many parking tickets when we were filming, but then we ended up getting one at the very end of the shoot after dodging several. It was just a really hard shoot, but we pieced an episode together back in the day, but we didn't cover nearly as much as we could have just because we were there for a short time. Scheduling was wild. So when Clover reached out about having Chef Chris on, I jumped at the opportunity to learn more about Clover and to chat with Chris and learn about how they've grown. And Clover Food Lab is a fast casual plant-based restaurant group based in Boston, founded in 2008. What started as a single food truck has grown into multiple locations around the city, all focused on serving fresh, seasonal, and locally sourced vegetarian and vegan food. Their menu changes daily depending on available produce, with a focus on simple, innovative dishes like chickpea fritter sandwiches, lentil bowls, and rotating soups. Clover is also known for its sustainability efforts, using a compostable packaging, minimizing food waste, and working closely with regional farms to highlight New England ingredients. As mentioned, today we have Chef Chris Anderson on to chat about Clover. Chris is the head chef of Clover. He joined Clover in 2009. Over the next decade and a half, Chris transformed Clover's veggie-based menu to include creative seasonal sandwiches, bowls, soups, and salads, all sourced from a hyper-local network of New England farmers. That's so cool. Prior to joining Clover, Chris was the personal chef to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He is a graduate of Johnson & Wales University, and we were so lucky to have him on the podcast. Here he is to chat all things Clover and a little bit about The Rock. It's Chef Chris Anderson. From feeding Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson the goods he needs to stay in shape, to feeding the greater Boston area healthful and delicious plant-based meals on the regular, he's creating a healthier, happier world, one bite at a time. Please welcome to the Keep On Cooking podcast, Chef Chris Anderson. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to do this.
And we're going to jump right into your icebreaker question here. Something beyond the food to get to know you more, a little beyond that, because we're going to get into the food of it all. But when it comes to relaxing and thinking of nature, do you prefer the beach or the mountains?
Good question. That's a tough choice, but I'm gonna have to go with the mountains. You know,
Okay.
I live in New England, and we have the White Mountains right up in New Hampshire and Maine, and I spent a lot of time up there. Well, I did before kids, and now that my son's getting old enough, I took him on his first 3-day trip up there last year, and there's just something about disconnecting from internet, Wi-Fi, people, and just being present and getting to hear all the sounds of nature around you. It's just, I love the outdoors.
Well, and it's got to have nice having kids now too, I would imagine. Showing them that world, especially in the age of technology, like being like, hey, we're going to disconnect. Yes, that's actually a thing. We don't all hold devices in our hands all the time. So we're going to get to the mountains and do the darn thing. Like, that's got to be a nice feeling too, to be able to offer that to your kids.
It's so nice. And especially in this moment in time, like my kids are just filled with sports. So I feel like besides just cooking food all day and making wonderful experiences for folks at Clover, I'm then a full-time bus driver, just going around to 8 tournaments and soccer games and lacrosse games and basketball practices and clinics. So it's really a time for all of us to decompress and just like remove all that noise and just
Yeah.
for a minute.
How many kids?
I have 2. So I have an older son that's 5 or 5th grade, 11. His name is Mac, and my younger daughter is in 3rd grade, and she's 9. Her name's Nora.
So, okay, sports though. Those are like, that can be a heavy sports age. That's when it's all starting. So I see now. Yeah. The activities, not just sports, like all the things, right?
And I love sports, so like me taking them to practice is almost as good as me playing the
Yeah.
sport, just because I'm so competitive as a person. And I played sports growing up, so getting them to watch or play sports, it's like I enjoy watching them go through the grind and be
Nice.
competitive and really compete.
That's good. If I had to pick beach or mountains, I'm gonna say I like them both equally as well. And there's something so peaceful about the mountains. But we're, in Chicago and we're just under a mile from the beach and it's about to be beach season. So I'm gearing up right now. So I'm picking beach right now. But I think I can go either way ultimately as well for the unplugging part of it.
Do you like a crowded beach or a remote beach?
I don't want it to be crowded, which is so I'm like the early bird special here. I go to the beach like before the sun is blazing. I'm there at like 10 a.m. to get like a decent spot. And then the crowd comes in around like noon and 1. And I'm like around 2. I'm like, I think it's time to go. I think I'm good. You know? I want a little peace at the beach. Uh, well, we're here today to chat about Clover in Boston. You are the head chef for Clover, but before that, you were the private chef for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And before we get into all that, we want to know, where did you grow up and how did you start working in the food business?
Yeah, I grew up as a Midwest boy, so in Missouri, Lake St. Louis, and then moved to a town called Wentzville, and it's the crossroads of the nations. It's where Highway 40, 61, and 70 come together. So it's very busy with hauling produce and all that stuff across the country. And just grew up in a lot of cornfields, and it was really slow living. And there's only a handful of things to do: is to get in trouble, entertain yourself and play sports, get lost in the cornfields, or work. And my parents were both hardworking folks, and I decided to get a job when I was 13 working in a produce stand. It was called D's Produce. And there was a little main drag in the small town of Wentzville. And on the very beginning part of that drag was this fruit stand. And got in there and I was just amazed of all this fruit that was there. And Mr. D would go into St. Louis every day at 3, 4 in the morning, and he'd be buying and sampling all the fruit and vegetables that were coming off the boats, and really just buying the best fruit that was ripe and in season there. And it would come back to the stand and we'd set it up and sell it. And it was in those moments where I first had my first taste of a truly in season, perfect white peach. And it's like kind of like eating a tomato in the winter. It's like once you have a tomato that comes off the vine that's in your backyard, and you just put like a little salt on it and eat it, you never want another tomato again. It's just like everything else is disappointing. So I had my first taste of that perfect white peach, and it was so hard to get that again because on the beginning and end of the seasons you're just chasing like the perfect texture and the smell, and it was really blissful. So then I got into sampling all the other foods and fruits and watermelons and apples and stuff, and just really just loved it. And from there, I think naturally everybody at some point washes dishes in a restaurant as the next step in their career. And that's where I found myself in a local restaurant in town. And busy night on came along. And they short-staffed, as all restaurants usually are, and called up the dishwasher to work on the line, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the hustle, and the bustle, and the grind, and the teamwork and camaraderie, like the pressure of cooking, and all the tickets coming in, and creating something beautiful, and being on your feet and working with your hands and producing something that gives someone nourishment, but also like an intimate experience with that meal and their friends. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, I wash dishes at Bennigan's when I remember that. And then also on the seasonal, I mean, I was just talking about tomatoes on another episode, and I was filming a series in Italy, and like the person we were cooking with was like, "Oh, just go pick some tomatoes over there." And I was like, "Okay." And I like just took a bite, and I'm like, I just wish I could be transported back to that moment. It was the most delicious tomato I've ever tasted. And it's so funny now when I open a book and there's anything about seasonal, it always says the tomato. It's like, just please don't buy tomatoes out of season. It's like, and it's so true. Like, and you don't know till you try it, till you've had that tomato off the vine and all that. So I can understand being at that stand and sort of falling in love with produce. What a great thing to have at a young age there. Now, before Clover, you spent years as the personal chef for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What are the biggest challenges and advantages of being a personal chef to such a high profile client?
Yeah, I think that you have to understand that you're in someone's personal space and they're not coming to you to eat in your restaurant and seek you out, but you're actually in their personal space with their family, their kids. So you're really seeing that person and that family in a raw state, and you have to learn how to blend in and be part of the fabric of that household. And then two is like it's you have to their palate almost becomes your palate. Like when you start serving things, you start to see what they like and dislike, and then when you start to try new things, you almost know ahead of time what they're going to like and dislike because you just know their likes and needs so much. Um, but I mean, short of that is just like the planning piece and catering to someone's very hectic and busy lifestyle, catering to last minute guests and just, shopping for three people, but then six people are eating dinner. Or just like, hey, we have to hop on a plane and fly to California. And, you need to pack a bag and leave in 12 hours. And we're going to be gone for 4 days. And then you have to repeat that process and find good vendors and grocery stores and just like being another kitchen, another element, serving a different set of people and just being very fluid and being able to adapt to the situation in real time.
I'm stressed listening to that even. I've done private chefing and I had one high-end client and it's not as high-end as this because The Rock's got specifics. The man needs to stay in shape. So I'm just like already just like you're trying to please somebody on a level of flavor, but you're also trying to deliver these macros, I would imagine, on a certain level that just, I mean, every day you're just like, wait, I would imagine, again, this is from my perspective, like you probably had to meet certain numbers all the time, and that's all, especially then you're picking up being like, oh, we're going here now. Okay, great. And then, like you said, finding new vendors and everything, very stressful. And you did it.
I got through it and I did it, and it was a good time. But also, it's like you're cooking to numbers at that point, like you said, macros. So you're like, how do you create variety with restrictions, and how do you create texture and moisture and satiation and different spice profiles with limitations in the macros. It's just knowing where to tuck those grams of fat and protein in the sauce or the protein or the starch itself, and just making sure that it's fun to eat and pleasurable, and it hits home because it's rigorous and it's a full-time job eating very clean and regimented like that to maintain your physique.
Yeah, and you want it to be delicious at the end of the day. So yeah, you're hitting all that stuff, but like that's the goal. They're going to be satisfied if it's delicious, so that all makes sense. Well, we're here to talk about Clover, and it's a pretty different type of quick service restaurant. So how would you explain Clover to someone who's never been?
Yeah, Clover's a fast casual restaurant, and we make food vegetable-based food that meat eaters dream about. So, and there's all kinds of food and variety of food on there, but the ultimate goal is that we're creating different things with we're sorry, let me start over again on that one.
No worries. Let me write this down. Where are we at?
I'm making you work extra hard today.
Don't worry about it. You're all good. It is not a problem. All right, here we come. So for those who don't know Clover, I'll start over. We're here to talk about Clover today. So for those that are not familiar with Clover, it's a pretty different type of quick service restaurant. So how would you explain Clover to someone who's never been?
Yeah, I think very simply, it's a quick serve casual restaurant, and we're serving up vegetables with delicious culinary creations that meat eaters dream about. So it's for everybody, and 96% of the customers that we feed are meat eaters. And the ultimate goal is just really buying local in-season produce and vegetables that taste amazing, creating them into delicious recipes and just really creating different food that you can't get anywhere else that people are just craving. They come back to every single time. So we serve sandwiches, bowls, soups, different drinks and lemonades. And then we even have a meal box program where we deliver food to people's houses that are filled with plant-based tacos and pizzas and soups and plant-based burgers. And we really just hit home in many different ways and have a ton of delicious recipes.
That's awesome. Did the meal box come about? Was that a pandemic, a sort of discovery, or were you doing it even before that, or how'd that come about?
It was. So, during when the pandemic hit, the majority, I would not even the majority, all of our locations were in
Sure.
the city, in Cambridge, in Boston, and no one was going into the city. Everybody was working from home at that time. So when we decided to reopen the restaurants very shortly after the COVID shutdown, we're like, we need to reach our consumers where they are, and they were at home. So we had this amazing commissary that allowed us to buy all this regionally based produce and vegetables and then able to create all these delicious recipes. So we said that we could do the same thing we're doing in the restaurants, but then meet people in their homes. So we started making all these amazing meal boxes and delivering them to the household and bringing all that delicious food. And that's kind of where we went from sandwich bowls and soups to now tacos and pizzas and stuff that you can make in the household. And on top of those boxes, then we were celebrating everything you can think of: Christmas, Hanukkah, May the 4th
Sure.
be with you. Summer, we have a summer celebration box, which it's in the middle of like corn season. We'll do a corn box. So it's maybe 6 to 10 recipes that all go around corn. We have a tomato celebration box. So we just, everything in there is tomatoes, 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 tomatoes,
Nice.
blueberries, and we just celebrate food and bring that to the household. So if people are working and they're in the universities and in the city, we meet them in the restaurants with our food there. And if they're at home and they need us to replace their dinner, we're dropping a box on their doorstep and they're able to heat that up, and feed their family for dinner.
That's great. Lots of ways for people to get the good Clover food in. And you went from the Rock to Clover. So how did that happen? When did you start at Clover, and how did that come about for you?
Yeah, so I moved to Florida in 2000, I'm sorry, 2004 to 2008, and just love my job. I really, if there's no better human being on earth, it's Dwayne Johnson.
Love it.
He's just a really awesome guy. And I had a hard time philosophically wanting to leave that because it was just like, what are the opportunities for that to come up again? But part of me just wasn't settled that I just had so much to give to the world, and I
Hmm.
just had so much I wanted to do with food, and I was helping one person
Hmm.
achieve what they needed to achieve, and I just felt like I wanted to touch more people and have my impact more broadly, and I really wanted to start something on my own. So at that point in time, I decided to leave, and I moved to Boston, where my wife is from. So she's from Shrewsbury, Mass, and moved up there, knowing that I wanted to start something, but I didn't know what it was, and I was going to take a few months off, and ended up running into the founder of Clover at the time, and what he was talking about is exactly what I wanted to build on my own. So I think it was like 2 days into the food truck opening, I ate an egg and eggplant sandwich, and said, I want to help this, and got
Nice.
on board. And I've done everything from wash dishes to open up the first restaurant to open up the first commissary to build all these sales verticals and all the recipes. And I've touched a little bit of everything. So
That's awesome. How many restaurants are there now?
we have 11 restaurants.
Come on, 11 restaurants. That's outstanding. I was filming, so I used to have a series called The Vegan Roadie, and we were filming in Boston in 2009, I think. And we had chatted with Clover to like try and make it happen, but like we couldn't align schedule wise. But because at that point it was just a truck. Am I correct in 2009?
2009 was just a truck. So the
Okay.
idea of the truck was, real estate's really challenging to get into if you don't have an
Sure.
established brand.
Sure.
So instead of doing a focus group, we wanted to open a food truck and just roll it up in front of MIT
Yeah.
and start serving food. And hey, do you like it? Do you not like it? Okay, let's change this. Do you like
Right.
this? Does fresh squeezed orange juice work? Does pour over coffee work? Do we want to serve sandwiches on a sliced bread or an Israeli pita? Do we want to have bowls? And every day we would just come out there and change the menu and change the food. And we'd bring in farm produce and try different culinary creations. And we'd start to like understand what people wanted and where our position was in this space. And we use it as a big test and experiment. So we
Sure.
could refine that in the operations, to open our first restaurant. So during that time period, though, it was a lot easier to open restaurants on our food trucks on private property. And we
Yeah.
ended up, I think at one point we had 11 food trucks at some point
Wow.
around the area.
Do you still have the food truck plus restaurants, or is it now strictly restaurants?
We shaved it down to 2 trucks. So we'll
Okay,
use it for catering, and
great.
um, we'll do weddings and small functions and charity events, and we'll use the truck in that capacity. But we're more focused on brick and mortar at this point in
Yeah,
time.
that makes sense, but it's nice you still have the trucks to be mobile for, given events and stuff like that. I think I did manage to stop by the truck when we were filming. I think I had a chickpea fritter sandwich, if memory recalls. And since then, as you've said, you've evolved into so many things. Several restaurants, catering. I think there's even cooking classes. You've got the meal boxes also. And with this expansion over the years, we're going to get into the food of it now. So we've had this expansion. What would you say are the two most popular Clover sandwiches on the menu?
Mm. Um, Popular for customers or my favorites?
We're going to get to your favorites. What are the most popular ordered from the customers?
So clearly the chickpea fritter for sure.
Okay. So
Um,
I am right. It was a chickpea fritter. Okay. Then my
yeah,
memory is correct. Great. And
chickpea
it
fritter for sure.
has lived on. Good to hear.
It's gone through many iterations
Okay.
over the course of the years, and just trying to get that perfect. Like we've had 4, 5, 6, 7 iterations of the falafel. We've um, developed the hummus and refined it over many, many years. We just wanted the best falafel, the best hummus, the best
Sure.
ingredients on there, and we continue to refine it all the time. But it's probably a third of what we sell.
Wow.
It's just everybody loves it.
That's
Yeah.
great. What about what's a second most popular? You got the chickpea fritter. What's another popular?
Yeah, so I would say the the jalapeno mushroom popper is
Oh,
another one. So it's a tongue twister.
yeah,
Uh,
that sounds delicious.
but it's basically a buttercream with roasted jalapenos and spices. We take cremini mushrooms, we batter them in panko breadcrumbs and fry them. We take kale, red onions, and make a chipotle vinaigrette and top it, and it's just this warm, unctuous sandwich that everybody goes crazy for. It has a little sriracha drizzle on top.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Sounds like a big
Um,
pop of flavor. What about a favorite for you? What's a favorite sandwich for Chef Chris?
I tell the story all the time, but I truly believe in it. So Michael Doctor started Winter Moon Roots Farm in Western Mass, and he grows the best root vegetables and has since passed that farm down to Rosendo, who we still work with today. Um, and he had a time where he overplanted starburst daikon radishes,
Okay.
and he's like, "Hey, I'll harvest them if you have a use for them. If not, I'm just going to till them back into the soil." And I tried really hard for 2 months to come up with a daikon sandwich, and people just weren't having it. Just cold roasted, daikon was not. And
Not it.
it's when you pickle daikon, it doesn't smell great.
Yep.
So it has
Yep.
this like really edginess to it. So out of that came the hakurei sandwich. So then I made a sandwich with hakurei turnips, which are delicious. They're roasted. They're nice and sweet and creamy. So we make a togarashi aioli. So plant-based mayo, togarashi, orange zest, garlic. We'll roast hakurei turnips, slice them, and put them on the sandwich. And we'll even take the greens sometimes and toss them in vinegar and roast them too and put them on there. Then we make a carrot slaw with some miso, soy sauce, sesame seed oil, rice wine vinegar, a little bit of ketchup, garlic, ginger. Toss it. We'll brine onions so we get some salt and a little bit of vinegar and sugar into those onions to give them some flavor. And then we'll drain them and toss them in some seasoned flour and fry them so they're crispy onions, and we'll put them right on top. And by far, it's like one of my favorite sandwiches. It's just a little challenging because like folks aren't ready for a cold turnip
Sure.
sandwich. So, if you just trust it and try it, boom, it will light up your day.
All
Uh,
right.
but you have to have some faith till they go, hey, I'll try that, cold turnip sandwich.
I mean, yeah, I'll take your word for it. It is definitely, you're correct though. As I think about it, I'm like, I wouldn't gravitate towards it right away, but I certainly, I will always take a chef's recommendation. That's for sure. What about some other menu items that are not sandwiches? So let's say one popular non-sandwich item and then one favorite. What are a couple other items that someone might want to think about ordering right when they go in for the first time?
Yeah, so I would say, can we talk about some stuff in our box program too?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
So we have a taco box that is completely vegan, and so people that sign up for that subscription, it's a reduction in allergies because it's vegan, and also it just makes it really accessible. So we do a lot of playful things in there, and one of the ones that I really love is we make a pecan taco meat. So we'll
Okay.
just take pecans. And we'll dice them up really small, and we'll boil them in salted water. And when you boil them, um, it kind of removes that nut texture to it, and it almost gives it kind of like that ground beef feel to it, where it's like kind of soft on the outside, but it's a little like al dente and knotty on the inside. So
Mm-hmm.
it changes the texture a bit. And then what we'll do is we use this technique in a lot of food, but we'll saute garlic and onions in a lot of oil, and then we'll put down tomato paste, and then we'll just cook it really hard until it gets sweet and caramelized. And then we'll deglaze with soy sauce, and then we'll come in there with vegetable stock. And all of a sudden, you got this like really unctuous, umami, deep, rich flavor
Mm-hmm.
that then you build on with spices, and you can almost emulate a ground beef taco with pecans,
Nice.
which is awesome. And we'll use that similar technique. We make a French onion soup that's vegan. That if you put them side by side, you won't even know the difference with something that's made with beef stock.
Yeah.
We do a bangers and mash,
Okay.
which is like mashed potatoes with we use a colcannon, but it's like roasted kale and onions that we fold into mashed potatoes, and we use a Beyond sausage on there with, and we'll make a onion gravy that we put on top of the mashed potatoes.
Great.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
So
the
hearty and satisfying, that sounds like. What about the French onion soup? What are you using then for the cheese part of it on there?
So we'll use a crouton, and we do have as an option you can put one of our pita bread on there with a little Grafton cheddar, and that's an optional component, and then we'll use
Gotcha.
fresh parsley on there. But it's
All right.
it's, it's so unctuous, yeah, all on
Love
its
that.
own.
That's great. Well, sustainability is a big buzzword these days, but from what I know about Clover, it seems you have a substantial commitment to sustainability and follow through connecting with local farmers and sourcing locally. So, how do you navigate that on a daily basis with such a big operation?
Yeah, well, the part of building a regionally based supply chain is naturally you're eliminating a lot of this excess in the supply chain. So if you're buying product from far away, and this is not just food, but everywhere, it's going to come in a bag in a box. It's going to come to your retail outlet. You're going to unpackage it. You're going to put it on the shelf. You're then going to buy it, and you're going to repackage it in plastic or a bag, and you're going to give that to somebody and then put it in a landfill, right? Just to get that one item to you. So part of what we want to do is buy things that were local and in season. One, because obviously they taste the best. That like that summer tomato that
Mhm.
all you have to do is put salt on it. Versus some hot house tomato you get in the middle of
Yeah.
winter. But we could buy all this produce from all these local farms within 60, 90-mile radius, expanding all the way to Western Mass. When they come into the commissary, they're coming into with farm crates and reusable containers. At that point, we're creating delicious food and recipes and putting them into reusable containers, which are third pans and six pans. And we ship those to restaurants. Those go right in the sandwich units, and they're serving food. And then we put all of that on compostable, 100% compostable serviceware. And then all those containers come back to the commissary, which we can clean and then make more delicious food and repack it for the next day. So some of those containers have been in circulation for 16 years since the beginning of Clover's existence. We've just kept all that plastic and corrugate out of landfills. And the food miles from where it comes from is 60, 90 miles away versus being
Amazing.
shipped across the country.
Right. Right. Oh, that's so good. And I'm going back to food. I just, I've had friends just sort of wax poetically about the pita that they've had at Clover. So it's pretty special from what I hear. What goes into the recipe and production that makes it like no other pita?
Yeah, so I'll back up just a touch and tell a story about it. But when we decided for Clover that we wanted to serve our sandwiches on Israeli style pita, there was really only one spot making Israeli style pita, and that was down in New York. There's a big Jewish circle of bakers that bake Israeli style pita, and it's just absolutely delicious. So we would be driving down to New York every other night, and getting to the bakery at 1 in the morning, loading up the trucks, driving all the way back to
Wow.
Clover, and it would be on the vans going to the restaurants. And bread that was just coming off the oven in New York at
Yeah.
1 a.m. Was hitting our customers at 7 a.m. for a breakfast sandwich.
Wow. Amazing.
And I'm not gonna lie, I made that trip a few times.
I mean, that's commitment. That's great.
So I would see the bread being made, and I'm like, I was said at the time, every year we always try to up our menu in some way, the supply chain or recipes, and do one big food project. And I would just go down there and look at all the equipment. I'm like, I can reverse engineer this because it's a very special process. So I found the ovens in Israel, and they're very unique tunnel ovens that are just specific to the style of bread. So I ended up buying it, I think 8 years ago, and we've just since then refined our recipe and process around making this Israeli style bread. But we use part of it was like we could get the bread fresher to the customer if we bake it ourselves, but we can also control the quality of the ingredients and make the process better. So at that point in time, we're able to start buying local grain. So we'll use 20% of local grain from Maine's Grains or ground up grain in Western Mass and also Maine. And we'll use 100% whole wheat. So everything's in it, the bran, the husk, everything. They just drop the wheat berry right in and mill the whole thing. And then we'll use 80% bread flour. And we make them in small batches all night long. And we have a team that bakes from
Wow.
7 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning. So when that pita is coming off the oven and being bagged around 4 and those guys are going home, our vans, resupply drivers are coming in at 5, 6 in the morning. So it's just been right off the oven 2 hours and it's going to the restaurants. So we're able to control the quality and also just really get it to just in time. And that way it just tastes the best. It's truly
Man, that's fresh. That's some fresh pita bread there. Well, we are in 2025, and somehow, some way, still, you got people saying, "Where's the protein? How do I get my protein?" They go to a veggie forward restaurant. Protein, protein, protein. Do you have customers seeking high protein items? And if so, what do you have on the menu to offer them at Clover?
all the time. And I think it's a constant thing that's always on our mind and we're always talking to customers about because it is at the forefront of a lot of folks' mind. So when we develop meals, we always keep that in mind. So we're always trying to work in legumes and pulses and whole grain, nuts and seeds, and really trying to make that a staple in all our stuff. Our pita alone has 10 grams of protein in it just because we're using whole wheat.
Yeah.
So that right there in itself is a foundation for our sandwiches. And we start at 10 grams of protein. And then at that point, we're working in some sort of grain, pulse, legume, nut, tofu, anything in that realm of plant-based proteins that adds to that. So generally those items too also add texture. And you need that. You can't just have, bok choy and shredded carrots in the same. So you really need to balance texture and acid and the experience from start to finish. So like those things get tucked into everything we innovate.
Well, you're saying all of the important things about building a meal. So for our listeners who want to cook more vegan at home, where do they start? Is there anything special about building a satisfying vegan meal you'd recommend for the home cook?
Yeah, I think just if you're starting off, I would just say learn how to cook lentils and beans, right? And lentils are simple for me, and the way I like to do it is just salt some water, and I always tell people to taste the water. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but if you taste the salted water, you can tell if it's pleasantly salted or if you can't taste the salt or if it's overly salty. And whatever that balance of that salted water will translate to what you're cooking. And I would just bring it up to a boil and then back it off and then add your lentils and then cook them until they're al dente. And then from there, just work on different vinaigrettes, whether it's with red wine vinegar or balsamic or lemon juice, orange juice, and you could start to mix in different sweeteners, molasses or jaggery or whatever. And just mixing that with lentils is like always going to be a good base. From there, I think just mastering roasting. If you get any good root vegetable in, toss in a little bit of neutral oil, you put it on a pan and you space it out really nice and easy, and you put that in the oven and build up some really nice flavor and caramelization of those vegetables. You can chop those up and anything will taste good.
Yeah.
at that point if you master that. And then at that point, you could fold in some really beautiful raw stuff like kale, dinosaur kale.
Mhm.
You know, shave purple carrots or, you know, chop up bell peppers or whatever. At that point, you have a foundation of protein and some society in there, and then some nice acid and richness. And you got some deep flavors from roasting, and you have some raw components in there. And you can make endless bowls
Yeah.
and dinners in that fashion.
For sure, and I love, sort of focusing in on, learning how to create some vinaigrettes for yourself because I feel like that's a fun way for home cooks to play with flavor because you can use the vinaigrette on the bowl. You can even toss it on the vegetables that you wanna roast if you wanna
Absolutely.
go that far. So there's lots of different things, and especially if you find yourself like, "Oh, I really love citrus vinaigrette." Well, what kind of citruses do you like? You can really, like, start to play with that and get expansive about it, so I love that. And you've got listeners, we're always giving you recipes on Keep on Cooking. That's what we're all about. And Clover has recipes on their blog. So you've got to make sure you check it out. We've talked about all this delicious food that's available at Clover, between their menu and their meal boxes and all that stuff like that. What about, so be sure to check it out. That's at cloverfoodlab.com. You can check out the blog there, little button that says blog. You can find a bunch of recipes on there. I was on there the other day. Lots of great stuff. So check it out. And as we're wrapping up the conversation about food, is there anything new on the Clover menu right now that really gets you excited that you could share with us?
Well, I think I'd love to mention just going back to our pita since we talked so much
Yes.
about it, but it's been such a staple for Clover in all our sandwiches and a dip for our hummus and romesco sauces and all the great spreads we make. We've been working really hard in developing relationships to bring that pita into local markets. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll actually see some of Clover bread popping up into all these local markets around Cambridge and Boston and farmers markets, and we'll be able to offer that and sell that in a retail setting. So you'll see that reaching its fingers out across all those marketplaces and be on the lookout for it.
That's awesome. Everybody in the area is going to be able to get their own Clover pita whenever they want it. That's a great extension of what already has been happening with Clover, it sounds like. And that wraps us up on talking about Clover and the great food and items that you offer. But I have a question. We usually have our book brag on here, but today it's a restaurant brag. So when it comes to Clover, Chef Chris, what is something that you're most proud of about when it comes to Clover?
Comes to Clover, I just think it's the relationships. We always talk about the supply chain, but there's something said about working with somebody that you can shake a hand with. And when you work with all these local vendors, whether it's coffee roasters or a tomato farmer, or even our local paper and packaging vendor, everybody at that point is doing something they love. They started a coffee business because they love coffee. They started growing tomatoes because they love to farm. And at that point, when you can go and shake a hand, you can share stories and you can share what's working, what's not working. And it really becomes this intimate relationship where you both win together. And it's very different than working with some big company where you're just like a number on an Excel sheet. But I truly value those relationships with all our small vendors, and we all work hard together and win together to create amazing food for all our customers.
I love that. A great community all around. And that is our chat on Clover, everybody. Now, Chef Chris, are you ready for your rapid fire round of questions?
I'm going to try my best.
You got this. You can handle this. Here we go. Question number one, tofu or tempeh?
I'm going to say tofu,
Okay.
versatility. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's
Uh,
it.
cast iron skillet or nonstick pan?
Cast iron, 250%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one's kind of like a no-brainer, really.
yeah,
But
right, that's
yeah,
a layup. That was a layup, to be honest.
yeah. Vegan burgers or vegan tacos?
I'm going to say burgers. The burger in our boxes are extraordinary.
What are they made out of?
They're just so we'll have a universal base where it's different beans. So it'll be black beans,
Okay.
white beans, pinto beans, and then we have a base formula where we can throw in any vegetable. We'll dice it up like quarter-inch dice, whether it's
Sure.
kale, onions, parsnips, carrots, and we'll roast it with tomato paste and a little bit of oil. And then we fold that in with panko breadcrumbs and nuts, and and mushrooms, and we'll mix it up. And it becomes this like kitchen sink patty, but it's flavored differently every week. But it's by all these
Cool.
seasonal vegetables that make it amazing.
Oh, that's great. What is your favorite squash?
Delicata squash.
Great. Sweet or savory?
Savory, 100%.
Favorite season to cook in?
I'm gonna go summer.
Okay, yeah.
Potatoes,
Uh,
corn, all that stuff's hitting.
totally, yeah.
Peppers.
And we're just on the cusp of it now, so I think all of us food people are getting very excited. So it's a good choice. Almond milk or oat milk?
I'm gonna say almond milk.
Okay. Structured routine or go with the flow?
Go with the flow.
Roasted veggies or steamed veggies?
Roasted.
Meal prep or takeout?
Takeout.
Avocado toast or peanut butter toast?
I'm gonna go avocado.
Okay. And your last one. So you're almost there. You did it.
Yeah,
Favorite pasta shape?
and I'm gonna say tortellini.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, there you have it. Chef Chris, you did it. Please tell everyone where they can find you and Clover on social media and the internet.
You can find us in Cambridge, Boston, or the greater surrounding area at any of our restaurants, or you can find us at www.cloverfoodlab.com. And we'd love to see you and feed you.
Perfect. I love it. Everyone go visit. I can't wait to get back to Boston and try it now that I haven't been there since it's expanded from the food truck. So it'll be great. And listeners, get yourself to Boston and get in on some of this delicious Clover fare. I'm looking forward to it myself. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. It was a pleasure to have you here.
And thank you for all that you do. This is fantastic.
This has been a Muzzy Cat production.